Hi, welcome back. I'm Sharon, and as you know, all of my stories are based on the truth. And as outlandish as this story is, it does have some truth to it. Death is never funny, but my colleagues in the funeral business were sometimes just plain nuts. And that's probably why I was pretty well accepted. Remember, my characters are not just one person, but a conglomeration of several of my relatives, friends, and colleagues. Now to my story. Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m., Emma Quigley and her husband Festus came into Chance Funeral Home to visit her mama, Susanna Parsley, and in Chance. She looked so peaceful, Beauregard. You know, she was a real rebel rouser in her heyday. She was quite a singer and a dancer. Festus added, she could certainly warble a tune. You would see her strut her stuff and people would sit up and take notice. She sang for the troops in World War II, Emma said. When she was only 17, she was kind of a gadabout town. That's where she met my daddy, and Emma blushed, where I was introduced to the world. You can close up about 5 today. There won't be any coming until tomorrow evening. They're a little rowdy, but they're a good group. I know they're planning on a Hootenanny in her honor. I hope that's okay. Of course, Beauregard said. Emma said, I need to be sure and tell the owner of this funeral home how helpful you've been. Beauregard handed her Fallon's business card. Here's how you can reach his secretary during business hours. Beauregard was never one to let an opportunity slip through his fingers. My mama loved the family and friends coming tomorrow. I told them what a nice fella you are, Beauregard. He beamed. I certainly hear that a lot, Emma, he exaggerated. 7:16 Sunday night at the funeral home. Beauregard had his feet up on the desk, dozing in his office chair when he heard 3 of Susanna Parsley's nieces come in with other family and friends. One had a fiddle, one a banjo, one a washboard, one a juice harp, one an empty jug for blowing, one a set of spoons, and one a cowbell. The last carried a jug of strong white lightning, along with plenty of red solo cups and several gallons of homemade lemonade. This was going to be a hootenanny that Aunt Susanna would have kicked up her heels and danced a jig to. Good evening, ladies. Your aunt said to be expecting you. Mr. Beauregard, we brought lemonade. It was Aunt Susanna's favorite. Won't you join us? I will. I just need to close the office. A few minutes later, Beauregard heard some giggling from the chapel. Cups of lemonade topped with bootleg whiskey were being drained and refilled, and then the cycle would start again. He joined just in time to be given a red solo cup full of lemonade and white lightning. One of the nieces said, "It's time to toast Susanna." Voices popped up from around the room. One of the younger men spoke up. "Here's to Susanna. Nothing scared old Susanna. She'd charge hell with a bucket of ice water. Toast Susanna!" They raised their cups and drained the solo cups, including Beauregard. Another voice spoke up. Susanna was never lazy. No grass ever grew under her feet. She was as busy as a stump-tailed bull in fly season. To Susanna! There were slurps all around, but this time accompanied by a few belches. A woman's voice shouted, "She always had some snap in her garters." To Susanna! There were slurps all around, but this time accompanied by a few burps, and one person refilling lemonade 3/4 full and another filling the cup to the brim with homemade moonshine. Beauregard was beginning to feel tipsy, giddy all over. Someone from the back hollered, "Let's get the music started." The first song was "Old Susanna, oh, don't you cry for me, for I come from Alabama with a banjo on my knee." The more they drank, the louder they sang, and the louder they sang, the more they laughed, and the more they laughed, the more they drank. They kept drinking and singing. Beauregard was more happy for the man blowing on the empty jug because it covered up the anal acoustics that white lightning was causing. Every time he laughed, which was all the time due to the whiskey, his booty played percussion, which seemed okay to him because it fit right in with the music. It was a noisy but grand celebration for Susanna. 9:58. Sunday night, the phone rang in the sheriff's office. Bring, bring. Deputy Rufus speaking, and how might I help you this fine Sunday evening? Rufus, this is Mason Clark next door to the funeral home, and there's mighty strange sounds coming from the funeral home. Do they make a low growling moan and groan that chills your blood? You know, like the undead? No, Rufus, you know there's no undead, Rufus interrupted. Do you hear the low rattle, like of breathing and crackling branches and sending rocks rolling down an embankment? No, Rufus, we don't have an embankment here at the funeral home area. Listen, was there squeaks and rattling of teeth, the rustling noises that come from all directions, telling you it's not alone? Did it roar like the fowls and skeletons? Rufus, just shut up and listen. Okay, but I was just trying to be helpful. I can hear in your voice you're wound tighter than a 3-day clock. Let me get a pencil. Okay. I'm ready to write. Go for it. Back to the sounds. Well, there's a lot of laughter going on. Well, it probably ain't a body then. You think, Rufus? They're singing at the top of their voices, banjos, fiddles, washboards. Some sounds I've never heard from a musical instrument before, more like a tootin' horn. And then there's the cowbell. Well, that's pretty weird coming from a mortuary. Rufus rubbed his chin. Usually it's crying, wailing, mourning stuff. Folks who go in there usually look like they feel lower than a gopher hole. You think, Rufus? Anyway, every time they hit that dang cowbell, Nellie, see, we're in bed trying to get some sleep, Nellie elbows me in the ribs, and I'm going to be so sore I'm going to barely be able to come to walk tomorrow. Cowbell? What in tarnation? And they keep singing that song, "Oh, Susanna, oh, don't you cry for me," over and over and over and over and over. If I hear it one more time, I'm going to be sick as a dog. Nellie gets real mad if I bring up her supper all over her floor. I think they're all drunk over there. Did you go over and talk to Beauregard? Have you ever tried to talk to Beauregard, Rufus? He's so mean he'd steal the flowers off his grandma's grave. The last time I tried, he kicked me off the funeral home property, and he said, and I quote, "Don't come back here because you're as welcome as an egg-sucking dog." And Rufus, he keeps a loaded shotgun at the funeral home. The cheese done slid off that boy's cracker, Rufus. I need you to go settle him down. I think they're all 3 sheets to the wind. Me? Sheriff Brady told me I don't have to answer his calls, 'cause he's nuttier than a pile of squirrel dingleberries. I know, Rufus, but Beauregard's not calling. I am. All right, I'll go up thar, but I'm just a-hoping I make it back alive. You might put that bullet in that you keep in your pocket for emergencies in your gun before you go. Oh, maybe, but Sheriff Bradley really don't like me to unless it's a real emergency. I think Beauregard qualifies as an emergency. 10:17 Sunday night. Rufus rapped on the funeral home door. No answer. Of course, with the ruckus going on inside, no one could hear him. He whammed on the door. Still no answer. He opened the door and walked in. Folks were singing, raising glasses, dancing in circles with arms locked. Beauregard's glass eye was dancing along while his hiney was rooty-toot-tootin' in the corner. Rufus said, "'Scuse me." No one answered. "I declare," he shouted, "it's as noisy in here as two skeletons dancing on a tin roof." The music stopped. Beauregard roused from the corner and struggled to walk over to Deputy Rufus, but his legs kept staggering left and then right. His heart rate rose a little and his face was flushed. No matter how many steps he took, his legs were clumsy under his enormous waist. Deputy Rufus walked over to him. "Beauregard, you are snot-slinging drunk." "Listen, Rufus, I'm the funeral director here. Don't let your mouth overload your butt. I'm here on official business. I'm on behalf of the neighbors who issued a racket complaint. They ask you that you all hold the ruckus down so y'all are not noisier than cats making kittens." "That's pretty stupid, Deputy Rufus." "Oh," Beauregard giggled. "I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings when I called you stupid. I really thought you already knew." All of the crowd laughed. Rufus was fit to be tied. "Beauregard, listen, are you always this stupid, or are you just making a special effort this day?" The crowd just oohed over those fighting words. Beauregard never knew when to shut up. "I had a thought. You have no trouble making ends meet. Your foot is always in your mouth." Rufus countered. "So a thought crossed your mind? Lawsy, it must have been a long and lonely journey." Beauregard balled up his fists. "That's it. If you don't stop, I'll tear your arm off and beat you to death with the bloody stump." "Beauregard, you are threatening a man of the law." "Put up or shut up, Rufus." After only one staggering pace, Beauregard doubled over, vomit splashing on the philodendron plant that had decorated the chapel hallway for years, and sprayed his suit plants. And down he went, flat on his face. He had passed out. "Okay, folks, step back. I am hereby arresting Beauregard Wienerman for disturbing the peace and threatening a law officer. I'm also shutting down this place. Y'all can leave now." Rufus was grateful Beauregard was flat on his face so he could handcuff him. He was also grateful the Hootenannies left on their own. He placed a call to Fallon. It was 10:42 Sunday night. Earl and Bessie May were snuggled together on the couch, eating popcorn and watching a movie when Bessie May's phone went off. "Oh, no," Bessie May groaned. "Work?" Earl asked. "On Sunday night? You're not even on call this weekend." "It's Fallon. That can only mean one thing. The bane of my existence, Beauregard." "Hello, Fallon. This is Bessie May." "Bessie May, I hate to bother you on your weekend off." "Not as much as I hate for you to, Fallon. But this is important because it involves Beauregard. It always involves Beauregard when you call me on my day off." "And," Fallon said to sweeten the deal, "you can take tomorrow off. And Tuesday," Bessie May insisted, raising her voice just a little. "And Tuesday," Fallon agreed. "Just listen. Deputy Rufus from Chance just called. I don't know what's going on, but there's some kind of fracas down there that involves the funeral home, and Beauregard is in custody for disturbing the peace and assaulting the deputy. I need someone down there who can sweet-talk the deputy and handle Beauregard." "Well, that's a new one even for Beauregard," Bessie May said. "Take Granger with you." Bessie May met Granger at the funeral home. "Why are we taking the Suburban?" "Well, I'm not sure what we'll find, but I'm driving this just in case we have to bring the body back with us." "Woo! You must be expecting a wild one." At 12:17 Monday morning, Bessie May and Granger pulled into the parking lot at Chance Funeral Home. She saw the squad car still parked outside and all the lights on. The deputy was sitting outside on the front steps. She stuck out her hand. "Deputy Rufus, I don't know if you remember me, but I—" "Yes, ma'am, I remember you all right. You're the one with some common sense, different from the ding-dong I just arrested." "I'm sorry tonight has been such an upheaval for you." "Upheaval? First that man whose mouth goes like a bell clapping out of a goose's hiney insults me. An officer just doing my duty. He insults me in front of a crowd. Then he threatens to assault me. Now he's in there, handcuffed, stinking up the place to high heaven. That's why I'm sitting out here. He's in there snoring and blowing the big booty horn, snoring and blowing the big booty horn, snoring and blowing the big booty horn. Why, I started turning greener than gooey gourd guts. It was all I could do to make it out here to fresh air." Granger spoke up. "So Beauregard's inside?" "Yep, tighter than bark on a log. I don't know how much he had of that white lightning, but his gut had to be chugged full because he's as full of wind as a corn-eating horse." "Deputy, I'm sorry for all this," Bessie May said. "You certainly didn't deserve any of this. You deserve respect for the position you hold." Rufus softened. "And I do think a reasonable fine is in order for disturbing the peace." "Well, ma'am, I reckon I don't want him in my jail tonight, what with him firing stink torpedoes all night. His engine's running, but nobody's driving, what with all that whiskey in his system, all that homebrew rot gut. I wouldn't get no rest at all with him locked up." "I'll take him off your hands, and you can rest assured the owner of this funeral home will be dealing with him severely. There's no excuse for his behavior. Now, why don't you go home and get some well-deserved rest, Deputy Rufus?" "Night, ma'am. Just let me get my handcuffs." When Rufus returned, he said, "Too bad you aren't the one running this funeral home instead of that one in thar who's as worthless as a side saddle on a sow. Bessie May and Granger walked into the funeral home as Deputy drove away. "Wow, you're quite a negotiator, Bessie May. No wonder Fallon sent you." Bessie May ignored him. She was tired of dealing with Beauregard's mess-ups, whether she was good at it or not. The sign at the door of the chapel announced, "Mrs. Susanna Parsley." At the end of the chapel lay a bluish-tinted, white-haired woman in state with a red and white carnation bouquet on a tripod with a banner, "Flying with the Angels, Old Susanna," on it, surrounded by smaller plants and flowers. Beauregard was spread-eagled, belly down, in the middle of the aisle, just snoring and Heine hiccuping his heart out. "Ew, he's rancid and funky," Granger said. "That's because the smell of rotten eggs, hydrogen sulfide, a byproduct of poor fermentation in the making of some white lightning." Granger just stared at her. "My great-uncle's neighbors ran moonshine. I learned a lot." "You're kind of a walking encyclopedia, Bessie May." He looked around the small chapel. "That must have been some party. What do I do with this philodendron covered with Beauregard's upchuck?" "I'm afraid it's a goner. Toss it in the trash along with the red Solo cups and empty lemonade jugs." "I'll tell Fallon," Bessie May said, "that he needs to send a cleaning crew in here, and he can decide who he wants to charge the bill to. He'll charge it to someone, 'cause he's so tight he'll squeeze a nickel till the buffalo screams. Wake up, Beauregard." "Wake up!" Granger yelled, as he shook Beauregard repeatedly. "Ugh, that little filly needs some fries to go with that shake," Beauregard mumbled, not quite awake. "Beauregard, quit dreaming. It's me, Granger. Wake up." "Huh? What are you doing here?" "Get out." "Shut up, Beauregard, and get up." Beauregard tried to stand. "Ooh, I don't feel well. I'm so sick I'd have to get better to die." "Don't you barf on me, Beauregard. If you feel you need to, you go outside." "My head hurts. I'm as pitiful as a three-legged dog." "Go get in the Suburban, Beauregard, and shut up. Then your head won't hurt so bad," Granger said. Bessie May locked up the funeral home and crawled in the vehicle. Granger turned to Bessie May. "Now, I'll be the first to admit if a duck had Beauregard's brain it would fly north for the winter, but I can't believe even he was as stupid." They hit a small bump and Beauregard squeaked out a butt-cheek screech. Granger screamed, "Beauregard, cut that out!" She turned a corner, and he lifted one cheek and shot out a raspberry. "Ew," Granger groaned. Bessie May rolled all the electric windows down and raised her voice. "Beauregard, clamp your cheeks together." "I'm trying, but my guts are having a hissy fit. They're bloating something real bad. I think they're a-fixin' to pop." Granger said, "I've got an idea, Beauregard. Do you think you could hang your hiney out the window till we get home?" "Bless his heart," Bessie May giggled. "It'd be a fine howdy-do if he got it stuck in the window. We could call Fallon to come out with a crowbar to get it out," Granger hissed. They dropped Beauregard off at the house and watched to make sure he walked through the door and closed it. 1:48 Monday morning, Bessie May crawled into bed next to Earl. He rolled over to face her. "Glad you're home, BM baby, and mighty glad you have the next 2 days off. Me too." 9:13 Monday morning, Bessie May's phone rang. She opened one eye and said, "Oh, no, just no." Then she hit answer. "Fallon, you said I have today and tomorrow off, and I'm exhausted." "I know, Bessie May, but Deputy Ruffus called from Chance. I tried to talk to him. I even offered to drive down there personally, but he says he won't talk to anyone but you, and he needs to see you in person, and he sounds scared. Scared? He should call the sheriff. I already suggested that, but it's a situation, he said, and he said you're better equipped to handle it than anybody. Well, paint me green and call me a cucumber. I can't imagine any situation like that. Bessie May, I'm desperate. If I had any other choice, all right, I'm up. But this doesn't count as my day off. Any idea what's going on? Something about a veiled threat. Tell Granger to be ready. I'll be there in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. At 11:18 Monday morning, Bessie May and Granger parked in front of the sheriff's office. They tried to open the door, but it was locked. They saw Rufus peek at them from the closed curtains at the window and then heard the door lock, click, open. Bessie May, Rufus said, you're sure a sight for sore eyes. I just knew you'd come. Well, I'm going to do my best for you, Rufus. What's going on? This morning, when I got to work, there was this here box full of roses on my office doorstep, all done up right nice with a bow and this here card. His hands trembled as he handed the card to Granger to read aloud. Granger read, Rufus, this is how you're going to end up if you ever step on my property again, and it's signed Beauregard P. Wienerman, Funeral Director, Pressman Funeral Homes, Incorporated. Then Granger opened the box. Oh, no, Bessie May, the roses are all dead. Rufus said, that boy's only got one oar in the water. I think he's done lost it, Rufus moaned. Rufus, I think you should stay here. Rufus happily nodded in agreement. Granger and I are going to go to the funeral home and talk to Beauregard. Bessie May saw the sign that Beauregard was hammering into the ground in front of the funeral home that said, Private property, no trespassing by Deputy Rufus Helam. Granger said, He's done gone hog wild and pig crazy. Bessie May got out of the Suburban and stomped up to Beauregard. This is not how she had intended to spend her day off. Beauregard, what are you doing? I'm keeping that power-hungry Rufus off my property. He busted into my establishment the other night and knocked me out and put me in handcuffs in front of my personal friends. A man's got a right to defend himself. First of all, you passed out from all that grease lightning, and secondly, those were not your personal friends. Those were mourners. Small details, Bessie May, small details. I'll get even with him for coming in and shutting down my visitation and then having the gall to fine me for it. A man has a right to make a living. You were disturbing the peace. That wasn't a visitation. It was a hootenanny. He ignored her. I have Orville Wells coming this afternoon to put up a fence around the funeral home, a 6-footer, and if he steps 1 foot on my property, I'll treat him like I treat any other stinking polecat. Beauregard, do you still keep a loaded shotgun in the umbrella stand? Moved my shotgun up right by the front door in case that no-good meddling Rufus tries to trespass on my property again. She motioned for Granger to come up to where she was standing and whispered, Keep him busy talking small talk while I make some phone calls. Who you going to call, Bessie May? First, I'm informing Fallon what I'm going to do. Next, I'm calling the men in the white coats who distribute straitjackets because Beauregard desperately needs a mental health vacation. Then I'm calling a man named Orville Wells to cancel a fence job. And finally, I'm calling Rufus to tell him he can unlock his door. I hope you had a laugh or two today. Have a blessed day.